Maya Rodriguez was cleaning her rifle when the strange message came through. She sat in the small weapons room of the human ship Endeavor, working on the plasma weapon that never seemed to fire straight. The ship was quiet except for the soft hum of the engines. They had been traveling near the edge of space for 3 months now, looking for new planets and alien life. The communication screen on the wall started beeping. Maya looked up from her work. The screen was flashing blue, which meant the message was coming from outside human space. That was unusual. Most aliens they had met so far just ignored human ships. "Computer, play message," Maya said. The screen came alive with colors she had never seen before. Strange symbols moved across the display while a voice spoke in words she could not understand. But then the computer began to translate the alien language into English. "Greetings to the species called humans," the voice said. It sounded cold and electronic. "We are the Galactic Combat Federation. We invite your kind to send one warrior to compete in the Grand Arena on Nexus Prime. This is a great honor for..." "A new species?" Maya put down her rifle and moved closer to the screen. The message continued. "Your warrior will fight against champions from many worlds. The battles will show the galaxy what humans can do. The tournament begins in 20 standard days. Send your answer quickly." The message ended and the screen went dark. Maya stared at it for a long moment. Then she picked up her communication device and called Captain Jake Morrison. "Captain, you need to see this message we just got," she said. 10 minutes later, Maya stood in the captain's room with 5 other crew members. Captain Morrison was a big man with gray hair and tired eyes. He had been in space for 15 years and had seen many strange things. But even he looked surprised as they watched the alien message again. "What do you think it means?" asked Dr. Lisa Park, the ship's doctor. "It sounds like they want us to fight in some kind of tournament," said Engineer Tom Wilson. "Like gladiators in ancient Rome," Captain Morrison rubbed his chin. "The question is why? Why would they invite us?" "We just started traveling to other star systems 5 years ago. Most alien species have been in space for thousands of years." Maya had been thinking about the same thing. Maybe they want to test us, see what humans are like in combat. "Or maybe they think we'll be easy to beat," said Lieutenant Sam Brooks. "Show the galaxy that humans are weak." The room went quiet. Everyone knew that humans were not the strongest or fastest species they had met. The Varkesh were huge and had natural armor. The Zephyrians moved faster than human eyes could follow. Other aliens had technology that was far beyond what humans could build. "We should say no," Dr. Park said. "It sounds dangerous." "What if our fighter gets killed? What if we refuse and they think we're cowards?" Maya asked. "That could hurt us when we try to make friends with other alien species." Captain Morrison looked at the message details on his tablet. "The tournament is on Nexus Prime. That's supposed to be a neutral world where different species meet. Fighting there might not be as dangerous as fighting on their homeworlds. Or it might be worse," Tom said. "We don't know their rules or their weapons." Maya stood up straighter. "I'll do it," she said. "I volunteered to represent humanity." Everyone looked at her. Maya was not the biggest or strongest person on the ship. She was average height for a human woman with dark hair and brown eyes, but she was a good soldier and a fast learner. "Maya, you don't understand what you're saying," Captain Morrison said. "These aliens have been fighting for centuries. They know weapons and combat styles we've never seen." "That's exactly why I should go," Maya replied. "I won't try to fight like them. I'll fight like a human." Dr. Park shook her head. "What does that even mean? Humans aren't special fighters." "We don't have claws or armor or super speed?" Maya thought about her answer. "No, but we adapt. We learn. We find ways to win even when we shouldn't be able to." Sam laughed, but not in a mean way. "Maya, that sounds good, but this isn't a training exercise. If you lose, you might not come back." "If we don't send anyone, what message does that send?" Maya asked. "That humans are afraid? That we hide when challenged? Other species will remember that?" Captain Morrison walked to the window that looked out at the stars. He was quiet for a long time. Finally, he turned back to the group. Maya, this decision isn't just about you. It affects all humans in space. If something happens to you, it could change how aliens see our entire species. I understand, Captain. But if we show we're brave enough to accept their challenge, that could change how they see us too. Maybe they'll respect us more. Tom looked at his tablet. We have 20 days to decide and get to Nexus Prime. That's not much time to prepare. What kind of preparation can we do? Dr. Park asked. We don't know their weapons or their fighting styles. We have some data on the alien species we've met, Maya said. I can study that. And we have basic information about different types of energy weapons. Captain Morrison sat down heavily in his chair. This is not a decision I want to make. But Maya might be right about how our answer will affect future relations with alien species. The room was quiet again. Everyone understood that this choice would be remembered for a long time. I need to think about this, the captain said. Maya, are you absolutely sure you want to do this? Maya nodded. Yes, sir, I am. Then I'll give you my answer in the morning. Everyone else, keep this quiet. For now, we don't need the whole crew worrying about something that might not happen. As the others left, Maya stayed behind. Captain, she said, can I ask you something? What is it? Do you think humans have any chance in a tournament like this? Captain Morrison looked at her for a long moment. Maya, I've seen you solve problems that nobody else could figure out. I've watched you adapt to situations that would break other people. If any human has a chance, it's probably you, Maya smiled. Thank you, sir, that means a lot. Hey, just remember, the captain said, sometimes the best way to win is to not fight the way your enemy expects you to. Maya left the captain's room thinking about those words. She had a feeling they would be very important in the days to come. 17 days later, Maya sat in a small shuttle heading toward Nexus Prime. Through the window, she could see the planet growing larger. It was gray and silver, covered with massive buildings that stretched up into the clouds. Ships from dozens of different worlds moved around the planet like busy insects. Captain Morrison had agreed to let her compete, but only after making her promise to be careful. The whole crew had helped her prepare as much as they could. Tom had taught her about different types of energy weapons. Dr. Park had shown her basic alien anatomy from the files they had. Sam had practiced combat moves with her every day, but Maya knew that all the preparation in the world might not be enough. She was about to face fighters who had trained their whole lives for combat. Some of them came from species that were naturally built for war. The shuttle pilot was a blue-skinned alien named Kex. He had 4 arms and spoke in a voice that sounded like wind blowing through trees. First time to Nexus Prime? He asked Maya. Yes, Maya replied. Is it always this busy? Kex laughed. This is nothing. Wait until you see the arena district. When the Galactic Combat Federation holds a tournament, beings come from across the galaxy to watch. Maya felt her stomach twist with nervousness. She had not thought about how many people would be watching her fight. On Earth, she had competed in martial arts tournaments, but those had maybe a few hundred spectators. This sounded like it would be much bigger. The shuttle landed at a port that was bigger than any building Maya had ever seen. Aliens of all shapes and sizes moved through the area. Some walked on 2 legs like humans. Others crawled on multiple legs or floated in the air. Maya saw creatures that looked like walking crystals, others that seemed to be made of metal, and some that appeared to be living clouds of gas. Welcome to Nexus Prime, Kex said as Maya gathered her small bag. Try not to die in the arena. Humans seem interesting. Maya was not sure if that was meant to be encouraging or not. A tall, thin alien was waiting for her at the shuttle door. It had gray skin, long arms, and eyes that were much larger than human eyes. When it spoke, its voice was deep and slow. You are the human fighter Maya Rodriguez? It asked. Yes, that's me. I am Coordinator Zell. I will take you to the arena complex and explain the rules of combat. Maya followed Zell through the busy spaceport. Everywhere she looked, aliens were staring at her. Some pointed and spoke in languages she could not understand. Others just watched her with curious eyes. Maya realized that many of them had probably never seen a human before. They took a transport vehicle that moved without wheels, floating above the ground. As they traveled through the city, Zell began to explain the tournament. The Galactic Combat Federation has held these tournaments for over 3,000 years, Zell said. They began as a way to settle disputes between species without starting wars. Now they are mostly for honor and entertainment. Maya looked out at the massive buildings around them. How many species participate? This tournament has fighters from 27 different worlds. You are the first human to ever compete. That made Maya feel even more nervous. She was not just representing herself. She was representing all of humanity. The arena complex was enormous. It looked like a small city by itself, with training areas, living quarters, and the main arena in the center. The arena was a huge dome that seemed to be made of some kind of energy field rather than solid material. The arena can change its environment during fights, Zell explained as they walked toward the building. It might be a forest in one battle, and a desert in the next. This tests how well fighters can adapt to different conditions. Maya nodded. That actually sounded like something that might help her. Humans were good at adapting to new environments. Zell led her to a room filled with weapons. There were energy rifles that glowed with different colors, swords that hummed with power, and devices that Maya could not even identify. An old alien with thick, leathery skin stood among the weapons. It had 4 eyes and moved very slowly. This is Vex, Zell said. He is a weapons master. He will help you choose your equipment for the tournament. Vex looked at Maya with all 4 eyes. So you are the human, he said in a rough voice. I've heard about your species. You are small and weak, but some say you are clever. I hope so, Maya replied. Vex walked over to a rack of energy weapons. These are plasma rifles. They fire bolts of superheated energy. Very effective against most types of armor. He picked up a blue weapon and handed it to Maya. Try this one. The weapon was heavier than Maya expected, but it felt solid in her hands. She aimed it at a practiced target and pulled the trigger. A bright blue bolt shot out and hit the target dead center. Good aim, Vex said. But aim is not enough in the arena. You will face fighters who have been training since they were children. Maya set the weapon down and looked around the room. Can you tell me about the other competitors? Vex's 4 eyes focused on her. There is Thorik of the Varkesh. He stands 8 feet tall and has natural bone armor. His species evolved on a world where everything tried to kill them. He has won 12 tournaments. Maya felt her confidence dropping. Who else? Zara 9 is a Zephyrian who has been enhanced with mechanical parts. She can move faster than your eyes can follow, and her aim is perfect. There is also Brutex, a Gornian whose skin is harder than most metals. Sounds like I'm in trouble, Maya said quietly. Vex studied her for a moment. Maybe, but I've been doing this for 60 years and I have learned something. The fighter who wins is not always the strongest or the fastest. Sometimes it is the one who thinks differently. Maya picked up the plasma rifle again. What do you mean? Most species fight the same way their ancestors did. They use their natural advantages and try to overpower their enemies. But sometimes a fighter comes along who sees the battle differently. They find ways to win that nobody expects. Maya thought about what Captain Morrison had told her about not fighting the way enemies expected. Can I practice with this weapon? She asked. Of course. But first, you should meet the other fighters. There is a gathering tonight where all competitors will be introduced. As they left the weapons room, Maya felt both excited and terrified. In a few hours, she would meet the beings she would have to fight. Some of them would probably be bigger and stronger than anything she had ever faced, but Vex's words gave her hope. Maybe being different was not always a disadvantage. Maybe being human, with all the weaknesses that came with it, might also give her some advantages that the other fighters would not expect, but she would find out soon enough. That evening, Maya walked into a huge hall where all the tournament fighters were meeting. The room was filled with the strangest collection of beings she had ever seen. Some were so tall they had to duck under the lights. Others were so small They sat on special platforms to reach the tables. The air buzzed with conversations in dozens of different languages. Maya felt very alone as she entered the room. Every eye turned to look at the human. Some aliens pointed at her and whispered to each other. Others just stared with curiosity or what looked like amusement. A massive creature near the back of the room caught Maya's attention immediately. It had to be Thorak, the Varkesh warrior Vex had told her about. He stood at least 8 feet tall, with thick gray skin that looked like natural armor plating. Bone spikes grew from his shoulders and arms. When he moved, Maya could see powerful muscles rippling under his skin. He was talking to a group of smaller aliens who seemed to hang on his every word. That one has killed 17 opponents in tournament combat, said a voice next to Maya. She turned to see a reptilian alien with green scales and yellow eyes. I am Slicks of the Gornian Empire. You must be the human everyone is talking about. I'm Maya Rodriguez, she replied. Nice to meet you. Slicks made a sound that might have been laughter. Nice? We will see how nice it is when we face each other. In the arena. I have heard that humans are soft creatures with thin skin and weak bones. Before Maya could respond, something moved past them so fast it was just a blur. When Maya's eyes focused again, she saw a sleek figure standing a few feet away. It was humanoid in shape, but clearly not human. Silver metal had been grafted onto its arms and legs, and one of its eyes glowed with blue light. This had to be Zaranine, the enhanced Zephyrian. The human is smaller than I expected, Zaranine said in a voice that sounded like it came from a machine. Are you sure your species sent their best fighter? Maya felt anger rising in her chest, but she kept her voice calm. I guess we'll find out in the arena. Zaranine tilted her head, studying Maya like she was an interesting insect. Yes, we will. I estimate that our fight will last approximately 43 seconds. You might be surprised, Maya said. More aliens approached to get a look at the human fighter. Maya found herself surrounded by creatures that could probably tear her apart without using weapons. But she noticed something interesting as she talked to them. Most of them fought in very predictable ways. The rock-like Krillians used their stone skin to absorb damage while slowly advancing on enemies. The insect-like Vexhi relied on speed and poison stingers. The energy beings called lumens could become almost invisible but had trouble with solid objects. Each species seemed to have developed fighting styles based on their natural abilities. Maya began to understand what Vex had meant about fighters doing what their ancestors did. They were all very good at using their strengths, but maybe they were not used to facing someone who fought completely differently. The tournament director, a tall blue alien with tentacles instead of arms, called for attention. Welcome, warriors, to the Grand Arena Tournament. Tomorrow, the preliminary battles begin. You have all been assigned your first opponents. Maya felt her stomach twist as she looked at the assignment board. Her first fight was against a Trellan warrior named Kes-47. She had seen Trellans before. They were living crystal beings whose bodies could deflect most energy weapons. Their skin was harder than steel, and they could survive in the vacuum of space. Bad luck, said Slicks, reading over her shoulder. Trellans are nearly impossible to hurt with standard weapons. Most fighters try to wear them down over time, but that takes hours. Maya stared at the board. Hours? The other fighters made it? Sound like battling a Trellan was like trying to break a mountain with a hammer. That night, Maya lay in her small room thinking about the fight ahead. She had studied the information Vex gave her about Trellans. They were slow but incredibly tough. Their crystal bodies could absorb and redirect energy attacks. They had no vital organs in the way humans understood them. How could she possibly win against something like that? Maya got up and walked to her window. Outside, she could see the arena glowing in the darkness. Tomorrow, thousands of aliens would watch her fight. If she lost badly, it would confirm what many of them already believed about humans being weak and primitive. But as she stared at the arena, Maya began to think about her opponent differently. Yes, Trellans were nearly indestructible. But maybe that was also a weakness. If you never had to worry about being hurt, you might not learn to be careful. You might not learn to watch for unexpected attacks. Maya remembered fighting in martial arts tournaments on Earth. The biggest, strongest opponents were often the easiest to beat because they relied too much on their size and strength. They did not expect smaller fighters to use speed and intelligence instead of brute force. The next morning, Maya stood at the entrance to the arena. Through the energy barrier, she could see thousands of alien spectators filling the seats. The noise was incredible. Voices, roars, clicks, and sounds she could not identify all mixed together into a wall of sound. Vex approached her carrying her chosen plasma rifle. "Are you ready, human?" "As ready as I can be," Maya replied. "Remember what I told you about thinking differently. Trillions have fought the same way for centuries. They expect their opponents to try the same old tactics." Maya nodded and took the weapon. "What if those tactics don't work?" "Then you find new ones," Vex said simply. The arena barrier opened and Maya walked onto the fighting ground. The floor was rough stone with scattered boulders providing cover. This environment was probably chosen to favor the Shalon's natural abilities. Across the arena, her opponent emerged from the other entrance. Kes-47 was 8 feet tall and looked like a walking sculpture made of blue-green crystal. Light reflected off its surface in rainbow patterns. When it moved, Maya could hear a ringing sound like wind chimes. The crowd grew louder as the two fighters faced each other. Maya could hear alien voices shouting what were probably bets on how quickly the human would lose. The tournament director's voice echoed through the arena. "Fighters, you may begin when the horn sounds. Victory goes to whoever renders their opponent unable to continue." Maya gripped her plasma rifle and tried to calm her racing heart. This was it, her first real test in the galactic arena. Win or lose, this fight would show the galaxy what humans were capable of. The horn sounded. Kes-47 began walking toward Maya with slow, steady steps. The Trillion was in no hurry. It had all the time in the world to corner the small human and end the fight. Maya raised her weapon and fired. The blue energy bolt struck the Trillion dead center in the chest. The crystal being did not even slow down. The energy seemed to be absorbed into its body and then discharged harmlessly into the ground. The crowd cheered. This was going exactly as they expected. Maya fired 3 more shots at the approaching Trillion. Each energy bolt struck its crystal body and disappeared without causing any damage. Kes-47 continued walking toward her with the same slow, steady pace. The alien crowd was getting louder. Enjoying the show, Maya backed away, moving between the stone boulders scattered around the arena. She needed time to think. Every piece of information she had read said that Trillions were nearly impossible to hurt with energy weapons. But there had to be some way to beat them, or they would win every tournament. Kes-47 raised its own weapon, a heavy crystal device that glowed with inner light. When it fired, the beam was so powerful it turned one of the stone boulders into dust. Maya dove behind another rock just in time. The crowd cheered louder. They were seeing exactly what they expected. The primitive human was running away while the superior alien hunter tracked her down. But Maya was not just running. She was watching. As Kes-47 moved, she noticed something interesting. The crystal being's feet left small cracks in the stone floor with each step. That meant it was very heavy. Heavy things had momentum. They were hard to stop once they got moving, but they were also hard to start moving in new directions. Maya also noticed that when Kes-47 fired its weapon, there was a brief moment where light flowed through its entire body. For just an instant, she could see the energy moving from its core to the weapon and back again. Another energy blast turned her cover into vapor. Maya rolled to a new position, still thinking. She fired 2 more shots at the Trillion, not because she expected them to work, but because she wanted to see what happened to the energy. She was right. The energy from her weapon went into Kes-47's body and then flowed to its feet, where it discharged into the stone floor. The Trillion was like a lightning rod, channeling energy safely away from its vital systems. But what if that energy had nowhere to go? Maya looked around the arena. The stone floor was solid, but there were metal drains in several places. Probably for cleaning the arena between fights. If she could get the Trillin to stand over one of those drains when she fired ... the plan was crazy. It might not work at all. But Maya was running out of options. Kes-47 was getting closer, and soon there would be nowhere left to run. Maya sprinted toward the center of the arena, where she had seen a large metal drain cover. Behind her, she could hear the ringing sound of the Trillin's footsteps as it followed. The crowd was laughing now. The human was making it too easy. When Maya reached the drain, she turned and waited. Kes-47 approached slowly, probably thinking the human had given up. When it was standing directly over the metal drain, Maya fired. Every bit of energy her weapon had left. The massive energy discharge hit the Trillin and flowed through its body as usual. But this time, instead of going harmlessly into stone, the energy hit metal. The drain cover became a conductor, and electricity arced through the metal grid under the arena floor. Kes-47 froze as electrical current flowed through the metal beneath its feet. For the first time in the fight, the crystal being looked confused. It tried to step away from the drain, but its heavy crystal body could not move quickly. Maya did not wait to see what would happen next. She dropped her empty weapon and ran toward her opponent. While Kes-47 was distracted by the electricity, Maya grabbed a piece of broken stone from the arena floor. She had noticed something else during the fight. When energy flowed through the Trillin's body, there was one point where all the light gathered before spreading out again. A control center of some kind. Located in what would be the chest area on a human, Maya jumped onto a boulder next to the confused Trillin and swung the stone as hard as she could at that bright spot. Crystal cracked under the impact. Kes-47 made a sound like breaking glass and stumbled backward. The crowd went silent. No one had expected this. Maya hit the same spot again. More cracks appeared in the crystal surface. Kes-47 tried to grab her, but its movements were slow and clumsy. The electrical interference had damaged something important in its body, with a sound like a bell breaking. Kes-47 collapsed. Its crystal body was still intact, but the light inside had gone out. The Trillin was unconscious but not dead. Maya stood over her fallen opponent, breathing hard. The arena was completely quiet. Thousands of aliens stared at the small human who had just defeated one of the toughest fighters in the galaxy. Then the cheering started. Not the mocking laughter from before, but real appreciation for an unexpected victory. Even the aliens who had bet against her seemed impressed. The tournament director announced Maya as the winner. Medical teams rushed onto the arena floor to check on Kes-47, who was already starting to recover. As Maya left the arena, she passed Vex near the exit. The old weapons master had all four eyes focused on her. "Interesting technique," he said. "I have never seen anyone use the arena's drainage system as a weapon." "I got lucky," Maya replied. "Luck had nothing to do with it." "You saw something that no one else noticed. You found a weakness that even the Trillins did not know they had." Maya's second fight was 3 days later. This time her opponent was a Nethern, one of the gas-like beings that could partially phase through solid matter. Most fighters had trouble hitting Netherns because they could become almost like smoke when attacked, but Maya had spent those 3 days watching previous Nethern fights on the arena's video system. She noticed that the gas beings had to become solid again to attack. There was a pattern too, when they phased and when they remained solid. When the fight began, Maya did not try to chase the Nethern around the arena like most fighters did. Instead, she positioned herself in the center and waited. She watched the pattern of her opponent's phases and began to predict. When it would become solid to attack, the third time the Nethern solidified to fire its weapon, Maya was ready. She had thrown her rifle aside and picked up 2 pieces of stone from the arena floor. When the gas beam became solid, Maya threw both stones at the exact spot where she predicted it would appear. Both stones hit the Nethern directly. The impact knocked it unconscious before it could phase again. Another unexpected victory for the human. Word of Maya's unusual fighting style began to spread throughout the arena complex. Other fighters started watching her matches more carefully. Some seemed worried. If the human could find weaknesses in opponents that seemed unbeatable, what would she do against them? Maya advanced through the preliminary rounds by continuing to fight in ways no one expected. She did not try to overpower her opponents or match their natural abilities. Instead, she looked for patterns, weaknesses, and opportunities that other fighters missed. With each victory, the crowd's attitude toward her changed. They stopped seeing her as entertainment and started seeing her as a real competitor. The primitive human was proving that intelligence and observation could be just as powerful as strength or speed, but Maya knew the real test was still coming. If she kept winning, she would eventually face the tournament champions. Fighters like Thorak and Zara9 would not be defeated by simple tricks. They had won too many battles and seen too many different fighting styles. Maya would need to find new ways to surprise them. Ways that no one, not even she, had thought of yet. Maya stood at the entrance to the arena for the championship fight. Through the energy barrier, she could see that every seat was filled. Aliens from across the galaxy had come to watch the final battle. Some had traveled for days just to see. If the human could defeat Thorak, the unbeatable Varkesh champion, the past week had been a blur of victories. Maya had beaten 7 opponents using tactics that surprised everyone, including herself, but Thorak was different. He had won 34 tournament fights and had never been defeated. His natural bone armor could stop almost any weapon, and his strength was legendary. Vex approached carrying Maya's plasma rifle. "This is your biggest test," he said quietly. "Thorak has faced every type of fighter and every kind of trick. He adapts quickly to new situations." Maya took the weapon but felt doubt creeping into her mind. What if I can't find a weakness this time? What if there isn't one? "There is always a weakness," Vex replied. "Sometimes it just takes longer to see it." The arena barrier opened and Maya walked onto the fighting ground. This time the environment was rocky terrain with scattered boulders and narrow passages. Good ground for a charging fighter like Thorak. The crowd noise was incredible as Thorak emerged from the opposite entrance. The Varkesh warrior was even more impressive up close. His gray skin looked like stone armor, and bone spikes protruded from his shoulders, arms, and back. When he moved, Maya could see muscles like steel cables under his hide. His weapon was a massive plasma cannon that looked like it could punch through a spaceship hull. Thorak raised his cannon toward the crowd and roared. The sound echoed through the arena like thunder. The alien spectators went wild with excitement. This was their champion, their unstoppable warrior. Maya felt very small standing across from him. But she had learned something important in her. Previous fights, size and strength were not everything. Every opponent had patterns, habits, ways of thinking that could be used against them. The tournament director's voice boomed across the arena. "This is the championship match. Victory goes to the fighter who renders their opponent unable to continue. Fighters, begin when you hear the horn." Maya gripped her rifle and tried to calm her racing heart. She had studied videos of all Thorak's previous fights. The Varkesh always fought the same way. He used his armor to absorb enemy fire while charging straight at his opponent. Once he got close, his massive strength ended the fight quickly. The horn sounded. Thorak immediately began advancing, firing his plasma cannon as he moved. The energy blasts were so powerful they turned stone boulders into vapor. Maya dove for cover, barely avoiding the devastating shots. She returned fire with her own weapon, but the energy bolts just bounced off Thorak's natural armor without causing any damage. The crowd cheered as their champion continued his relentless advance. Maya moved from cover to cover, always retreating, always looking for something she could use. But the arena was simple stone terrain. There were no metal drains or electrical systems like in her previous fights. Thorak's cannon fire was getting closer. He was herding her toward one corner of the arena where she would have nowhere left to run. Maya could see the confidence in his movements. He had done this many times before, but as Maya watched Thorak advance, she noticed something. The Varkesh warrior moved in straight lines. His charges were always direct, always using the shortest path to his target. It was an efficient way to fight, but it was also predictable. Maya also noticed that Thorak's bone armor, while incredibly strong, had joints where the plates connected. The armor had to allow him to move. which meant there were small gaps between the bone sections. An idea began forming in Maya's mind. It was dangerous and would require perfect timing. But it might be her only chance. Maya stopped retreating and ran straight toward Thorak. The crowd gasped. No fighter had ever charged directly at the Varkesh champion. It looked like suicide. Thorak was surprised but pleased. The human was finally showing some courage before her defeat. He raised his cannon for a point-blank shot that would end the fight, but just as Thorak fired, Maya did something completely unexpected. She dropped her plasma rifle and let it clatter to the stone floor. The sound of the weapon hitting the ground seemed impossibly loud in the sudden silence. Thorak hesitated, confused by this apparent surrender. In all his years of fighting, no opponent had ever simply dropped their weapon in the middle of combat. That hesitation lasted exactly 14 seconds. But 14 seconds was all Maya needed, without her heavy rifle slowing her down. Maya moved faster than she had all fight. She reached into her utility belt and pulled out a simple combat knife, the kind human soldiers had carried for centuries. While Thorak was still trying to understand why the human had given up her weapon, Maya slipped past his massive cannon and got inside his reach. Up close, she could see the gaps in his bone armor clearly. Maya had spent weeks studying alien anatomy files. She knew exactly where the nerve clusters were located on Varkesh bodies. The points where pressure could cause paralysis without permanent damage. The combat knife was not meant to cut through Thorak's armor. It was meant to find the spaces between the armor plates and strike at the vulnerable points underneath. Maya's first strike hit a nerve cluster near Thorak's left shoulder. His massive arm went numb immediately. The second strike targeted a pressure point on his right leg. Thorak stumbled, his leg no longer responding properly. The crowd was completely silent now. They were watching something that had never happened before. The unstoppable Varkesh champion was being defeated by a human with a primitive blade. Thorak tried to grab Maya with his good arm, but she was too close for him to get proper leverage. His plasma cannon was useless at such short range. All his natural advantages had become disadvantages. Maya's third strike hit the main nerve cluster in Thorak's back. The massive warrior's legs gave out completely and he crashed to the arena floor. He was conscious, but could not move. The paralysis would wear off in a few hours, but the fight was over. Maya stood over the fallen champion, breathing hard. She looked up at the thousands of alien spectators who were staring at her, in complete shock. Then she did something that surprised them even more. She helped Thorak sit up and made sure he was breathing properly. On Earth, warriors showed respect for worthy opponents. Good fight, Maya said to the paralyzed Varkesh. Thorak's eyes showed confusion, then something that might have been respect. The silence stretched for what felt like forever. Then one alien in the crowd began to cheer, then another. Soon the entire arena was thundering with applause. The tournament director's voice could barely be heard over the noise. Winner of the championship match, Maya Rodriguez of Earth. As Maya left the arena, she passed Vex near the exit. The old weapons master looked at her with something like pride in his 4 eyes. You found his weakness, Vex said. Everyone has one, Maya replied. Thorak's weakness was that he had never lost before. He did not know how to react when something completely unexpected happened. Vex nodded slowly. And what was your weakness, human? Maya thought about that. I was trying to fight like everyone else instead of fighting like a human. Once I remembered that, everything became clearer. Word of Maya's victory spread across the galaxy faster than light. The human who had dropped her weapon and defeated the unbeatable champion became a legend. Other species began to look at humanity with new respect. Wondering what other surprises these strange beings might have, Maya returned to Earth as a hero, but she knew the real victory was not in the arena. It was in proving that being different was not a weakness. Sometimes being human was exactly what the galaxy needed.